Hello everyone and welcome back to Automation. Well, last time we released the final trim of the quill, and so today we are going to be moving on from there, designing the replacement for the quill. And so the quill really was hitting the right hand side here, so it had both a sort of cheaper version for the premium budget and premium market, and a more expensive one aiming at more luxury end, as well as both a cheaper and more expensive version of the Convertible. So for the initial design, I'm still going to try and target a bit of the premium budget end. I don't know if we're going to manage to hit that or not, but we may as well see. In terms of which car to go for, I think we're going to go for this very top one of the 95 set. So it's one of the larger ones with a 3-meter wheelbase. It does have a lot of cabin capacity, so nice and comfortable. And also it comes in a sedan variant as well as a hardtop convertible. There's a hardtop convertible coupe, which isn't ideal for the convertible market, but we really don't have any convertible sedans. I do still want this to be at least sort of affordable. It's never going to be the most affordable thing, but I'm going to start by making it out of steel. And we're just going to do a nice simple ladder chassis and go for front longitudinal, really just so you get the drivability bonus. Now I'm actually going to go for the semi-trailing arm just to save on a little bit of production units there. For the rear suspension, that is. Now for engine, I think we're going to just design a new engine. Our last one really was showing its age with the quill, and we really want to upgrade it a bit. What we could do is go for an inline 6 engine, make this a really, really smooth drive. I think 3-litre inline 6 should be quite a nice engine for this. It won't fit in for 4-wheel drive, but it will work for rear or all-wheel drive, and we're probably going to make this an all-wheel drive car. And so that's fitting in nicely into the engine bay. And go for push rods to keep the cost down if we can. Hopefully get away with just doing everything cast. We are definitely going to put in a turbo here and probably go for multi-point EFI for now. And interestingly, we have unlocked the ultimate run, but we do just want regular for this one. We are putting this in the cheaper end of the car. We can always design another engine to go for our fancy, more luxury cars. So you can only get short cast headers on this. Okay, so initial numbers, not too far off the run scale, but certainly not ideal. We can see what we can do to improve this. So I think we've put together a pretty decent engine here. So I'm just going to compare it against the best version of the old inline 4. So we can see we've got a big jump in power. We are now getting 50 horsepower more. So still nowhere near competitive with our sports car, but that's pretty decent. Hopefully we'll deal with the heavier car. And we're getting a huge bonus to smoothness. The inline 6 is just a really, really smooth engine to drive. We've also got really good fuel efficiency here at 20% from 16%. Still just using our run 91. It is a tad more expensive, a fair bit more difficult to build, but hopefully this is still going to be worth it. Incidentally, I did work out why BVT is not available, even though we've researched it. It's because we can't put it in with the simple push rods. We need some of the overhead cams. to actually use variable valve timings. We just got a simple system, so we can't really do much of that. Did look into putting in the more fancy header, but that does dramatically increase the cost. I actually just rejigged a few things going back on what I just said. I have ended up changing from the push rod to the regular overhead cam. It's not that much of a difference in cost. It does cost a little bit more to produce, but it does give us quite a lot extra. We're going from 215 to 240 horsepower, while really maintaining a lot of the same stats across here. So I think that's probably going to be worth it. A little bit more engineering time, it's looking like 90 months, but I think we've got a decent engine here. Let's see how this crazy thing sounds. Notice there we were getting some strain on the piston and cod rod, so I'm just going to take off a tad of the RPM limiter just to make sure that we don't have to put in expensive things for those. And that should be a very nice engine for our kind of cheaper luxury market. Okay, and so for the premium budget model, we're going to go for the 1995 sedan here. We want all-wheel drive, go for the advanced automatic, no differentials, radial medium tyres, and try and even out the tyre width. Go for a couple of drum brakes on the initial guess. Don't think we need any undertray, don't need anything like cooling flaps. We want 4-seater variant here. And I guess variable hydraulic and traction aids. Go for standard 80s. It's not a bad set of initial guesses there. We are actually in the premium budget market with 64% affordability, which isn't half bad. So let's see what we can do to bring that down a bit. So there we go. I'm really happy with this design. So we're getting 213 competitiveness, with a 70.8% affordability for the premium budget market. So we're pretty much capturing that entire market really, really well. In terms of things I tweaked, I've gone for premium and interior with basic cassette. That was the best balance between affordability and comfort. I've ended up going for 4-piston and 3-piston solid disc brakes. They're actually relatively cheap because the actual brake size is quite small. But that does nicely give us these decent braking. It does take a penalty to the sportiness since you can't really slam the brakes on with this anymore because tiny, tiny brakes just fade like nothing on earth. For normal driving, it's absolutely fine. And we managed to decrease the size of the tyres down to 155, and that really brought the price down quite a bit. So right where we want to be. Very, very nice premium budget car. Pretty good convertible budget on top of that to get some of that market there. And as ever, this spills into a variety of other random categories, so we'll still be making some money there. Oh, now it's time for me to try and make this thing look pretty. And so I'll catch you at the end of the time lapse. Oh, there I think we have it. We have the Many a True Nerd. So MATN 91 Premium Budget Edition. And I've got it in this nice sort of office grey. Quite happy with that. Not sure if the back looks a bit too busy. It looked really plain without the stripes. Might be too busy with the stripes. I'm very happy. I'm really happy with the front. I think the front's looking really good. And so next up, we're going to do one that's aiming for the slightly more upmarket. It's going to formally be our premium variant. We might also be trying to sell this into some others. So initially looking pretty good here. I've got a very desirable premium car with still almost 80% affordability, and it's still pretty good as a luxury and even a luxury premium car. The main thing we've changed has gone for handmade and premium CD. Premium CD seems to be a good balance between affordability and desirability. There's not a huge increase in how much the luxury premium market like it, the luxury over the premium, but there is a big difference in the affordability. Also decided just to stick with standard 80s. Safety, I do prefer the fancier one, but that is going to tick over the engineering time by a bit. I want to keep that down for this initial test, or initial variant. What I am going to do is clone that one and just mess around with the engine. Just want to go for a bit more of a high range version of this engine, just to see if we can get anything else out of this. I really don't think they do like that one, so I'm just going to trash that version. Mostly because the premium market don't really have access to the advanced fuels, and so the higher on fuels were just annoying them more than any benefit that I could put in. That's fine, so we'll just stick with the one engine. I do definitely want convertible trims though, and for the convertible trim I'm going to use this one. It is a coupe body instead of the sedan, at least according to the in-game stats. There's hardtops. You can take off the roof. On this first one, we're really going to be aiming for the convertible budget market / convertible market. Yeah, so I think we're trying to make it as affordable as possible for the convertible market. We worked out before that the convertible budget market was really on the cheap end. That is a pain. This body only has 2 seats. So 1 seat row in this one. All the rest have 2 seat rows. Most of the rest have 2 seat rows. I think they've made a mistake there. Unfortunately, this is early access, and a lot of these car bodies do have issues like that. It's kind of annoying, but that's going to always be a problem trying to make this convertible premium, and convertible luxury. So I did check just now, and all of this batch of cars in 1995 all have the same thing, where weirdly their convertible option only has 1 seat row, which does not match the image of the car, but that's what they've got it set to. So there's nothing we can really do. There's no point producing a 2-seat variant, a 2-seat convertible variant of this. That's just going to be in direct competition with our other one, our sports line. So what I'm going to briefly do is I do just want to check. So this is bleeding over into the convertible premium market a bit. I'm going to see if I can somehow wiggle this around to get that very, very top end of the market. See if I can get a bit of convertible. Looking at it, I really don't think there is. So it's a pity we've just been kind of pushed out of that convertible market. It's not the end of the world. We're not making huge amounts off of that currently. and we'll still make a little bit from sort of spillover. There's a bit of a pity that there just seems to be this weird gap right now in that section of the market. So it looks like we're just going to be focusing on the 2 models. And I'm going to push this up to medium 3. See how that goes. I'm targeting a 5-year cycle here. So we've had to cut down tooling and process, up funding and pressure. We've got that quite nicely there. See if we can get the engine in a similar amount of time. That's no problem at all. Getting the engine out in 60 months. And before I sign everything off, I almost forgot we've not taken the car and test track. I'm going to be using the premium variant. It's the one I'll export. It's up to 90 kph for the first turn. Does the track in 2 minutes 51. Seems reasonable. Okay, initial numbers looking fine, but as always, let's edit them. Okay, so current numbers are looking really good. Estimated 5-year profit is 6 billion. That's 5 billion with the factory included. So definitely right where we want it to be. We're producing the cars for 9.2 thousand and selling the cheap one for 16.5 thousand. More expensive variant costs us 20,000 to make, but we are selling it for just under 30,000. So it's certainly looking like good numbers there. Now the total price of everything all in, it's 500 million, just under 500 million. I think we can actually quite easily take that. Most of that cost is upgrading the factory, so that's no problem at all. So I'm going to sign those off. There we go. The Many a True Nerd is now in production. So next, let's just advance time until the Aussie is completed its run. Okay, so the refresh of the sports factory is going to be a fair bit more expensive. I'm just going to pay that up front. So a new version of the Aussie has just come out and is already making 16 million a month. Really, really good. Already pretty much paid for its refresh there. And mostly they really like the convertible sport variant. It looks like we're making decent money. So next, I think we got to design the next facelift of the Aussie. Let's keep up what we've been doing and doing these facelifts continuously. This is probably going to be the last facelift of the Aussie. It's 10 years old since we started designing it now. And looking at the research and development, see car bodies here that I think are really, really good for our next and possibly final sports car. We'll have to see how well it does. So this line here, the 2.5 meter wheelbase, does actually have the possibility of 2 seat rows. So this could fill in for the fact that we're no longer hitting the pure convertible market. We could put in one with 4 seats, put in one with 2 seats. And it does have hardtop and regular coupe, so that's looking really quite good. That officially releases in 2001, but we are 3.5 years ahead. So that puts us looking to start the research for that, or start the development of that, in 1998, 1997. And so we've got about a little under 5 years. So if we target this next facelift to be somewhere between 4.5 and 5 years, it should be getting released right when we're ready to put in that new car into production. Right now the Aussie's doing fantastic, but let's just make sure that its final iteration is looking really, really good to carry us through the development of a new car. So this is our new 93 facelift. And as ever, let's jump into the engine project. Let's start off with our smaller engine, or the one that runs on lower octane, I should say. So just checked on Light Sports Premium still really don't have access to the 95 run, so we'll stick with the 91 run. Don't think there's really much to add to this engine. I've increased the RPM limiter a little bit just to give us a little more flexibility at high RPM. Put it right up to the limit of our conrods right now. So I could increase it a bit more, but then we'd need to go on to lightweight titanium, which is a lot more expensive, and I don't think that's going to suit the kind of lower end engine that we've got on this one. So lower end in quotes there. This is still the 900 horsepower ridiculous engine, but this isn't its super beefed up big brother. So I think the main improvement, as is often the case with our final engine of a car, is going to be in the actual engineering, just trying to make this as affordable as possible and as reliable as possible. We can go over to 5-gear advanced automatic. We do have the ability to put an active wing aerodynamics, which really increases the front downforce, which is quite nice. Leaving the interior as it is, I think it's a nice balance between affordability and comfort. Pumping up the safety to advanced 90, standard 90s. Put in semi-active sway bars, which we can't go to active sport because that really lowers the reliability quite dramatically. I'm not sure exactly what's ticking it over there. But the reliability goes right down and gives us a massive, massive penalty. I've actually fixed that issue. It was just the downforce was getting too high, so the suspension was bottoming out, and so the bottom of the car was just scraping across the ground, hence why the reliability went down to 0. So I've actually got this on active sports springs now, and adaptive dampers. Actually, they quite like the semi-active dampers. So there we go. Very nicely appealing car, hitting sport, light sports premium market, decent sports car, also entering the super car category, really right where we want it, with this sort of range of different areas. It's not really convertible super, it's not convertible, but it is hitting the hypercar market. So on for the light sports variant, this one's the one we're trying to keep the cost down on. Going on to standard 90s on that as well. And save costs, I'm really not changing much about this at all. Pretty good car. It is at cheaper end of the car, so people who can't afford the others should easily be able to afford this. And it is getting to convertible sport budget, surprisingly. So this is just generally our cheaper variant. And the next one is our convertible sport variant. This is the cheaper end of the convertible market. Really isn't much to change with this one while keeping costs down. So again, most of this is going to be trying to improve the sort of reliability and so on. Have again switched over to standard 90s. It costs the same as standard 80s, but gives us a little more protection. So now we're on to the fancy top of the range car. In this one, we're really aiming for the convertible super market as much as possible. And the 100 run fuel is still really unavailable for most of the categories. So I'm going to leave this on the 98 run. So we've made a few changes to this, mostly that we've changed over to lightweight titanium and lightweight forged conrods and pistons. And that's given us a bit more of a maximum RPM limit. And so we've used that to increase the cam profile to really favor high RPMs. And that let us push this up to about 1200 horsepower. It's a little bit of an improvement. It is quite a bit more expensive. It's 500 quid more expensive. But that really doesn't affect the markets that we're going for. £500 on these kind of markets that are happy buying cars for 40 grand really is not much of a difference at all. And they do like the little bit of improved quality. So since this is our sort of flagship, top-of-the-line engine. May as well go all out on it. Oh, and here we've ended up with a reasonable convertible supercar. The thing that is really limiting our ability to sort of perfect this is that this is really on the very edge of the front tyres blowing out. I think it's just a weight thing on our current size of tyres, but almost any change is able to push this just over the edge. And unfortunately, we're running pretty much the largest tyres we can. I might see if I can change the body shape just to accommodate the largest tyres. Just hold the car, have a go at that. In fact, that is exactly what I needed to do. So I've made the body a slightly different shape, bring out these wheel arches. That lets put some truly fat tyres in. And that's been enough to cope with the added weight and added downforce that we've been adding. Well, just a general overpowered car here. And so that is now a very, very nice convertible supercar. So on to putting this into the factory. Actually push up the quality assurance threshold a little bit because we are never having any issues there. I'm going to target 5 years here. I did tick down the reliability a little bit, not too much. And hopefully that will be good. It is costing us quite a lot. We are researching or developing 4 trims now. We do need to add a CNC workshop for the improved conrods and pistons. So it's going to cost us 120 million. Don't want to produce the old 78 variant, we'll produce the other 2. And so we've had to lower a few things because we are spending quite a lot of time working on the new bottom end. We are putting in new pistons that we've never done before, and new crankshafts that we've never done before, or conrods. So that is actually taking quite a bit. Probably be useful as this as an investment going forward, because in all likelihood, the next car with the new engine is going to need some of that fancier, heavy-duty tech to keep up with the ever-increasing RPM that we're going for. And so now time just to balance the affordability here, actual pricing points. Okay, so here we go. I have balanced the numbers. We are currently targeting 3 billion in 5-year profits. So the Light Sports Premium variant selling for 29,000. The Light Sports variant is selling for 15,000. Quite a notable price difference there. Convertible Sports selling for 25,000. And our super top of the range car is now selling for 48,000. So all very nice profit margins there, and with decent factory usage throughout the 5-year period. So this is going to cost us 700 million. I think we can easily take that now. We've got a nice big store of money. Now let's advance time and see how the Many a True Nerd does on its release. So here we go, 1996, and the Many a True Nerd has just been released. It's made 26 million in its first month. That is down from the Quill. Quill was making more like 40 million, but we have lost out on 2 of the markets, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully we can sort that out when we replace the Aussie. So, very nice looking overall profits there. The premium version is definitely incredibly desirable, and they are selling very nicely. Well, I think that's a good place to leave the automation for now. So next time when we come back, we can put Quill in its first facelift, and the big thing next episode is going to be designing the Aussie's replacement. But for now, let's jump on to BeamNG. So we've seen the Many a True Nerd certainly sells well. Let's see if it drives well. Hi, welcome to BeamNG, and this is the Many a True Nerd. And it looks like well, honestly, it looks like a regular Audi kind of thing you'd see on the road these days. I did make a couple of mistakes. I forgot to put windscreen wipers, very minor thing. Bit more. This turns out only to have one exhaust in the engine, and I put 2 sets of exhaust pipes on, and that gets properly translated, so only one of them is actually functional. The other is purely decorative. There is a lot of exhaust coming out because we still haven't gone for catalytic converters, because current build they don't care about catalytic converters. I quite like the look of this kind of thing that you would think that an executive could buy. So let's see how it drives around. Okay, so not great at turning, which isn't too surprised given its length. It's quite nippy though. Yeah, it does not like turning sharply. Let's see how we can do down that straight. Nothing like our sports cars with top in 100. And the braking isn't great, it doesn't have really big wheels at all. Yeah, the brake fade is not happy. Anyway, I will drive this around for a little while, and then I'll get back to you and when I'm ready for the time trial. Okay, so it's a pretty easy car to handle around. I'm finding it not quite as easy to handle as the Quill, and most of that's to do with the braking. You see here, this ended up with really thin tyres to save on cost, and that really means that this doesn't have a huge amount of grip, and so that's making turns difficult, and it really can't handle braking that well because it didn't have much grip. We didn't put on very strong brakes, and so I just need to brake a lot sooner than I'm used to, even compared to the sports cars. Anyway, the time to beat was 2 minutes 51, so let's see how we do. Do at least have ABS, so it's a little easier. Or it's very easy to avoid skidding on braking. And straight. So far so good. It is handling a lot more like our older cars than the newer generation, just because of those weird wheels. Still got that around that, about 90. I'm going to have to come to an almost complete stop here. An actual complete stop. Yeah, coming on to the last section now. I don't think we're going to beat the time, but it looks close. So we just missed the time. See how we do though. Just missed the Quill. Okay, so we came in 3rd place. So didn't actually beat the time of the Quill. 2 seconds behind. Actually, just that handling isn't as good, even though it's got a beefier engine, and it is quicker off the mark. It just really doesn't like turning. Still managed to beat the Pebble though, so it's reasonably controllable. Came nowhere near to the Aussie's time. But still, that was a pretty fun car. Pretty fun little test around. And I think that's going to be it for today's episode. So if you liked, do comment, like, subscribe. All of that does help the channel. Otherwise, until next time, remember to have fun. Cheers.